Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for taking some time off from your busy week and busy day to do this with Shalu and myself. I just want to really cover through what we're going to go in today. We're going to do a quick introduction on what we do and why we have the right to speak in the space. And then we go straight into what we see as some context and observations that we're seeing in the space. I'd love to get Shalu to talk through a little bit more about based on what he's saying as a leader of a product company. Where does Gen AI kind of play today, and how that affects the lives of communicators on a day-to-day basis? So he will talk through that, and then we'll go into a couple of demos and hopefully some hands-on challenges based on a brief that you would answer or you would share on the screen. So again, maybe I'll pause here. We have two of us today. My name is Jeremy Xiao. I'm the Regional Chief Operating Officer of Allison. We are a global marketing communications consultancy based out of the US, but we're now in a lot of cities around the world. I will just give a quick 1 minute introduction to Allison, and I'll hand over to Shalu to introduce a little bit more about what he does and the firm he represents. So really quickly, as I mentioned, we're a global marketing integrated marketing communications consultancy. Our work really is, I guess, pillared under 5 areas. From strategic comms, where we help brands figure out their stories, to performance intelligence, where it really is our data analytics side of the wall. Creative and design is where we help our clients create and design impactful content that goes out. Reputation and leadership, everything from public affairs to how they should perceive in the public space, and last but not least, brand engagement and strategy. And that's a little bit of what we do. Today, we are operating in many markets across the Asia Pacific region. A list of them in there is everywhere from New Zealand to right up to China, and in between we're in Japan, Korea, Thailand, Singapore, Hong Kong, the list goes on. And so a lot of the conversations today would be, I guess, drawn on from what we're seeing from our work with clients across the Asia Pacific region. There are a lot of nuances that we're going to pull out. Hopefully, we have enough time to do so. But what we see the AI space is being same, but different in many markets across the Asia Pacific region. So that's pretty much all I'll talk about the firm and myself. I want to hand this over to Shalu Wasu.
Thanks a ton, Jem, and hi everyone. Great to see a lot of you here, and even nicer to see some familiar faces in the attendees list. So hi to all old friends there. This is our new avatar. Gimmefy is a platform that we've built to help us create some marketing magic. And I'm going to give you like a quick backstory of why we've built it and what Gimmefy is all about. But like Jem said earlier, we'll try and spend most of the time today in actually using it in real time for a real life situation, and hopefully that'll open up a lot of ideas that'll start popping in our heads as well. But Gimmefy essentially is a platform that we've built to help us create some marketing magic, and Gimmefy in a way tries to marry the best of AI with the best of human learning, wisdom, and experiences, and makes it available as a subscription platform for us to punch above their weight for anyone to punch above their weight when it comes to marketing. Gimmefy is focused on content creation and ideation, so you can also think of it as something that we focus on. Gimmefy does a great job at short form content, long form content, visuals, ideas, and research and planning related use cases as well. We all, just like all of you, I got very excited as well when the whole Gen AI explosion happened, and lots of ideas started popping in my head in terms of the possible usage situations, the use cases, the applications. We could create content like this, we could automate this, we could create so many visuals like this, we could do, like so much of possibility sort of, started popping up when the whole Gen AI explosion happened. And when perhaps like you guys, when I started using it, it was like magic. You type in something and you get something intelligent back. But after a bit of time of trying to start, trying to use it, you start realizing that while the initial feeling impressed by what it does is nice, but then there is a gap between that stage and then actually, in a practical sense, being able to use the output. And it was very frustrating to try and get the prompt right, to try and know, okay, when do you stop refining it? When is it enough? Very frustrating to try and keep it on brand, to try and keep it on your tone of voice. Very frustrating to give it additional inputs and additional information about your competition, about the landscape, and so on and so forth. Um, Very, very frustrating to sort of not know exactly what happens to the whole content and the security, privacy related scenarios, and so on and so forth. Also not easy to collaborate with your team members and so on. So to kind of solve all of these things, we built Gimmefy, which is as if David Ogilvy would have gotten married to Sam Altman, and if they made a baby, that would be called Gimmefy, and that's what it is. So in short, we're here to help AI take away all our jobs faster. Uh, Sorry, Jem, I wasn't supposed to say that. I'm just joking. But what we've seen, from all the names that you saw on the previous slide, we've now got clients from all around the world, and what we see happening is that we are able to get all the day-to-day stuff done really quickly, and we're able to actually see people spend time on things that really move the needle, things that really make a difference, and that really is what we're trying to achieve. And then hopefully you'll be able to do that as well. Let's go, Jem. So, like what we expect and what we're seeing is that Gimmefy will be able to help us in creativity, in productivity, get stuff done faster, so that we can save time or have time to do things that really matter. And many of our users are reporting up to 90% of saving in time and cost, while keeping the creativity up, while keeping the productivity up, and that's across agencies, that's across brands, and across geographies as well. So, with that as the background, let's jump in and take a look. Should we go in, Jem?
Yes, that's right. So just really quickly, again, I just want to say, throughout this time, if you have questions, please put them into I beg your pardon, the chat function. We will try to address as much of them. If we can't, or we are for whatever reason cannot do so today, we're going to leave our email addresses at the end of it as well. You will be able to reach out to us, and if you stay to the end, we will also be handing out a couple of licenses so that you can try on the platform as well. But I'll share more about that. Again, we will only tackle questions at the end, but that doesn't mean you can't drop them in the chat function as we go along. So as Shalu mentioned, Shalu, I'm going to hand this back again to you. Talk you through, if you can talk through a little bit about the platform and what you're seeing. You're one of many out there, but something that I really enjoy working on top of it has really helped make my life a lot easier as well. I spend more time consulting rather than doing. So if I'm going to hand this over to you, I'd love to have you give an overview on the platform.
Thanks, Jem. And there's no better way to check out something new than to actually try it out in real life. So what Jem and I have done is we've prepared a little demo for us to use for this session, and for the purpose of the demo, we have tried to pick a brand that we all hopefully are familiar with, and we all have seen it somewhere. We all have sort of heard about it, and we're going to use one of those brands to get started. So I'm going to log into an account that I've created for PRCA, and we are now in the platform. And when you start using ChatGPT, when you start using any of the other platforms for the first time, or imagine that you are the marketing director of a brand, the first thing that you would want to sort of share with your marketing team, want to share with your creative team, is an understanding of what your brand is all about. And if that is in place, then everything else sort of flows from there, and everything else just becomes nice and easy as we go forward. So we've created a feature here where we as marketers can start the whole process by helping Gimmefy understand who we are and what we are, and based on that, then we start sort of like using Gimmefy in the way we want to, and it just learns our brand. And we can do this in multiple ways. We could do this by uploading a little deck or a PPT file. We could do this by filling up a little form which asks us basic questions in terms of who we are, what our brand is all about, and so on. Or we could just put in the URL. And what I've done here is I've taken this example of this brand called Toastbox. I'm sure all of us have enjoyed their kopi and their tesi and their thick peanut butter toast many times. And because it's a brand that we're all perhaps familiar with, we decided to use this brand for our demo today. And what you see on the screen is the process through which we're creating the brand vault. We are educating Gimmefy and training Gimmefy to understand who we are. So I'll call this Toastbox PRCA demo. But essentially, this is an attempt where we are training Gimmefy to understand who we are. So Gimmefy has figured out what our business is all about. Gimmefy has figured out what is the product or the service that we offer. And we're doing this in an interactive way. And again, imagine that you are the brand manager or the agency that is managing Toastbox. And when you're doing this, if you want to tweak something, if you want to update something, if you want to change the focus to a particular thing, you can easily do that. It also takes a shot at figuring out what our USPs are, who our audiences. And this part is really interesting because this is something that we can change. So while overall our audience is people who love coffee and are traditional toast enthusiasts, doesn't mean that for all campaigns you're focused on that. Maybe for some campaigns you want to target college kids. Maybe for another campaign you want to target families. And you can just change the target audience here. And when you do that, Gimmefy then learns that is the audience that we are creating content for, and therefore it will tailor all the work that you do for that particular audience, which means even the cultural nuances, the jokes, the favorite sport, the food, everything will be tailored for that particular audience. And Gimmefy here has also figured out that our core audience is in Singapore, but again, maybe you're launching in another part of the world, and you want to then just change the location. And when you change the location, the same thing happens. Gimmefy is able to figure out or use that location as the lens through which it will create all the content. So everything will get changed automatically based on who the audience is, based on what the location is, and therefore many of our users create multiple brand vaults. So you can, for example, create one for Singapore, and then you can create one for Malaysia, one for any other market that you are launching in, or when for even for within Singapore for different audiences, we can create a different vault. And that just makes sure and ensures that we are always going to be on brand and always going to be accurate for all the work that we do. And this is the starting point. We can keep this going, and we can even fill out, for example, more details about our audience, more nuances about our customer insights. And the more layered we make it, the more details we fill out, the more accurate or the more nuanced the output will be. What I've done just now is I have, in the competitive landscape area, I've also put in the Toastbox URL, and I've asked Gimmefy to say, hey, go figure out who my competitors are and what does my competitive landscape look like. And that is another very useful thing to do, because at the end of this exercise now, Gimmefy will know who we are. Gimmefy will also know what our competitive landscape looks like. And Gimmefy will then be able to use this entire knowledge base for all the work that we're going to do subsequently, which means that going forward, if we ask Gimmefy to make a press release, if we ask Gimmefy to make an Instagram post, if we ask Gimmefy to write a blog post or any other such thing, it will use this entire knowledge base as a filter, through which it will create that content. Okay, great. We have this, on our screen. Hopefully, you are able to read this. So Gimmefy has figured out that our competitors are Yakun, Kilini, Heavenly Wong, and which is kind of bang on in terms of what is the competitive set that Toastbox deals with. It's also taken a shot at figuring out what the SWOT analysis is. So what does Yakun Kaya Toast stand for? What does Kilini stand for? And so on. And also a bit about what's happening in our industry and what's new and what's cooking. and then what is our positioning compared to the others. And of course, all of this is done in an interactive manner. So if we want to tweak it, if mostly Gimmefy will or should get it right 70, 80, 90% of what you're looking for, but we can of course do the the fine tuning and the tweaks to make sure that it's exactly what we want, and the focus is on the things that we want. And um and you know so this so at the end of this exercise now, Gimmefy now understands who we are. Gimmefy understands what our audience is like. Gimmefy understands the competitive landscape. And now, as long as I am in this project here called Toastbox, Gimmefy will use this entire knowledge base for all the work that we're going to do in the future. And we can, of course, create as many projects as we want. So if you, for example, have multiple businesses or multiple clients or multiple brands, each project will have its own knowledge base, and then you can kind of keep taking that with you as you start doing work under different projects. And I wanted to just share this as a kickoff, to show that how it all starts with training the AI on who we are, what a competitive landscape looks like, what a tone of voice is, who our audience is, what our USPs are, and then this will be consistently used for all the work that we're going to do going forward. And then we can have as many of these as we want. And now that we have this ready, we can start using it for the tasks that we want to do. And as we sort of before jumping into the task, I just want to leave you with this thought. Okay, we have a lot of things that we can do. Please think of what would you like to use Gimmefy for, with Toastbox as an example today. Do you want it to create some press releases or come up with some PR campaign ideas? Would you like Gimmefy to create some campaign concepts for Toastbox? Maybe you feel that Toastbox is, maybe there's summer vacations coming up, so you want to fill up some more capacity in Toastbox. Do you want to come up with some creative concepts for that? Do you want to make some visuals? Do you want to write some blog posts? Have a think of what you would like to see in our demo later today, and just send us back on the chat, and we'll go through that, and we will use those ideas to actually do that in real time, and share what a combination of AI and human training is able to create. With that, I'll hand it back to Jem, and then we'll go back to using the platform for real life use cases. Keep the ideas coming on the chat. Over to you, Jem.
Thanks, Shalu. I think that before we go into some of the trends and observations that we're seeing across the region, it's worth also talking from your perspective, right? Just to get it out there, the elephant in the room really is, your platform, data, security, etc., the risk issue. Do you think you can just talk through this before I get ready to the next section?
Yes, I think one of the biggest questions that all our users have before they get started is, what happens to the content that you upload on Gimmefy? What happens to the briefs that you upload on Gimmefy? What happens to the client information? You may be creating press releases before information is public. You may be putting out information that is secret sauce for your brands and for your clients. And how secure is it, etc. So, like, the long story short, the answer is that anything that you use Gimmefy for, the information will stay there in that particular silo. It will not be used for training either by us or by any of the underlying AI models that we work with, any of the underlying AI models that we've trained with, that we have trained, and therefore you can be absolutely sort of feel assured that none of this information is going out. And as an additional precaution, every 30 days we do like a wipeout. So anything that you uploaded as a part of the brief for any of your use cases, any of the brands, will get wiped out as well. There's a lot of other, like boring stuff on the screen, but that is all the stuff that, for example, the IMDA guys wanted to kind of test us on before they gave us the Spark certification. So we've gone through those hoops. Anyone who's more interested, or you have that nerdy part of your brain to understand what happens to all this stuff, happy to have a deeper discussion. But it's all good to go.
Thanks, and thanks again, Shalu. And as we did the initial part of the session to train the AI to understand the brand and understand the competitive landscape, we just want to take some time to talk about what we're seeing. Now, first, I just want to go back to the initial poll that we ran as well, right? The question was, do you believe the use of AI tools is beneficial or harmful to the PR profession? And at currently 79% of the nice people on this call have said that it's going to be beneficial, while there's a 21% that says unsure and undecided. Uh, at the moment, none of you has said that you think it's harmful. And I think what we're seeing right now is actually quite consistent with the clients that we talk to. I think there's a general optimism, but there's also a general level of cautiousness, right? So 79 says it's beneficial, and 21 says is unsure and undecided. The second thing that we ask is, do you agree with the statement that generative AI tools will replace some PR functions and some PR and marketing comms jobs in the next 3 to 5 years? Now, this one's a little bit more divided right now. We see that about 45% of you agree on it, and then 28% unsure and undecided, and 28% disagreeing, right? So this one's a lot more divided, but I think that there again, we still think that what it mirrors is about the day-to-day tasks. Some of them you already see in what Gimmefy can do. Communicators divided, optimistic, but at the same time cautious about it, right? Now, this really is something that I hope to talk through in the rest of this section. We're going to spend a couple more slides talking about theory, but I think we can't ignore the fact that it is AI would be a big part of organizational changes in the near future. And a lot of the tools and a lot of the enterprise-wide technologies that we use will be powered by AI. And I like to put the big difference here, right? It's AI, not generative AI, which Shalu presented alone. I'm just saying the point is that we see AI is going to be rolled out a lot more in the enterprise. And so the goal is, there's expectation that organizations need to figure out how to work with AI, right? How do you train it? How do you get it to improve tasks, drive efficiencies? And I just want to zoom in closer to home, or closer to this field of marketing and communications. Before Gen AI, machine learning was a big part of what we do. Everything from we saw in recommendation engines like YouTube and Netflix, the machine learning gets to know better about what you tell them, what you like, and it proposes the stuff that you should be listening to, should be watching to, just on like YouTube and Netflix, right? And everything that we've been using in recent times, whether it's our media monitoring tools like Meltwater and Brandwatch, it really gets better. The more you input, the more prescriptive, the more information you put into the platform, the better they get at identifying the outlets and the stories that matter to you, positive tonality, etc., etc. So we've been already having AI in our discipline, in our industry for a very long time. But what we are definitely seeing is the contribution that generative AI is providing to our industry, right? And I think where it's hitting home the fastest and closest has been around the conventional creative process, right? So thinking about the ideation, look, for many of us, it is really hard to open a blank piece of paper with nothing on there and try to ideate with a blank piece of paper. Some of us have figured out, maybe that means that in order to open a blank, we need to take a walk, we need to go out there and start thinking about it, etc. And generative AI has definitely, a platform like Jasper or even Gimmefy have been able to cut short and accelerate that into, we don't need to start on a blank piece of paper anymore, right? We can give it and we can work from there. Second of all, I think that is really really help in improving and the way we work on our concepts, the way we work on our content, and it really allows communicators to look at the output and be more critical, or maybe more strategic, right? Ask questions, poke holes, refine, wax on, wax off. But essentially what it does is it really helps you to, I like to say this, it really helps you react to what's presented in front of you. and then from there figure out what can you do to advise a senior business leader, advise a client, or even advise another colleague, right? And so what we are also seeing, that there are some challenges and ethical implications, right? One is right now there's a lot more ask for accountability and transparency in the use of AI. And for example, when was Gen AI used to create an image showing real people doing real things? That's a big question right now. The ethics of, has images come out? Did you use AI to show that, if, for example, there's an image showing a customer consuming a carton of milk, right? And we're saying that this is the best thing. There's some ethics on how do you be transparent around putting images and how real it is. And also, look, there are biasness and potential discrimination in AI creation as well. So how do you train, the machine, as I would say, to better understand discrimination or any potential form? So that's another thing that I think that as we get better and as we get more wide usage around Gen AI, that you're going to see that these are some of the questions that's being raised, right? But already, I think that there are, and it differs by market to market, but there already are standards on how ethical usage of AI is being deployed, either being driven by the industry side, whether it's the 4 A's of advertising, for example, or marketing or content marketing. So there are various bodies already driving it. I would like to say I definitely trust the process and to see that we will come to resolution. But it's the same. This we saw this not like for like, but we saw questions and ethics and implications when social media advertising was being rolled out about a decade ago, and what's the implications of that as well. So obviously this will move at a faster pace, but I think these are some of the challenges that we're seeing. And then what we are also seeing is the chance for communicators to spend more time advising and less doing, right? And as I mentioned earlier before, AI has really created efficiencies in content creation, or right down to analysis of data. And so what it then allows us to do is like, what is the data telling us? How can we better position it in a way that's palatable to C-suites? Again, I think one of the upside of this is, we now have something that we can really take to C-suites to get them to react to, getting them to understand. And so that's one. And I think that what we're also seeing, the distribution or the access to AI and technology is more accessible than ever before. I mean, one is, obviously the cost to subscribe to tools have gone down, which is great. I think that, it would be something that would be just as something that a lot of enterprises will start giving comms teams. So you might have Microsoft Word, you might have Microsoft PowerPoint, you might have all the Microsoft suite, but you would have, and we're seeing a lot of organizations rolling out, you would have a enterprise version of your GPT, right? Or your Gen AI solution. I think this will be part and parcel of the modern day worker tool stack, having access to a Gen AI platform, and also having access to such technologies, right? Again, whether is it Gimmefy or a enterprise version of ChatGPT, we're definitely going to see more access. Allison is part of an organization called Stagwell, and today, across our business, all our employees have access to our own version of a private GPT. We also do have a version of our own AI tool to help us understand the way we deal with clients and the way we engage with clients. So the list goes on. A lot of our internal tool stack are really also powered by AI in some shape or form. So before I break into really pushing and seeing how communicators can spend more time, less time doing, but more time advising, I think hopefully we can address this at the end after Shalu's session is, yes, I think that there will be challenges with content-based specialists, right? In the workforce. And I think that for those roles, I think the chance for you to understand and how you can use a platform like a Gen AI platform to help you do your tasks a little quicker, a little faster, I think that's going to be on the upside. I do worry if you're in the space that you and if you haven't had the chance to figure out how to use a Gen AI platform, I think you might be a little bit behind. But on the flip side, as AI continue to be a big part of data analysis, or right down to understanding challenges and making sense of it, I think that the role of data generalists and technology generalists will continue to see greater demand. What I'm saying is that if you know how to use multiple tool stack to help you in your day-to-day, I think that can only be in your benefit. So today, you're not only just expected to use the Office suite of products, you should understand how to use as simple as how do you push Grammarly to the extreme, right? Or how do you use ChatGPTs to the extreme as well? So I just want to pause there. And I think that I just want to get to the next part. And before Shalu gets set up and changes screen, I just want to add, you would see that the first part of Shalu, you can take over and tee up your side.
Cool.
Yep. And just to add, before we go into this, we spend like I guess any tool, you want to spend some time teaching and training the platform to try and understand who you are, what you do, and some of the brand stuff, brand guidelines and brand tone, which Shalu has done. I know we're using Gimmefy as a platform, but I do want to at least use this next section to showcase, now that you get a piece of technology to understand your challenges, now how can we fast track that content creation process? And last but not least, there was a recent study that showed that a planner had spent 3 hours putting together the strategy for a campaign for one of these brands. And based on that same brief, input that same brief into a ChatGPT type platform to create, I guess, a campaign ideation proposal or campaign idea. So did it on 2 different Gen AI platforms, and the third was to brief a creative team on that as well. And then the test was then put in front of clients, and in all 3 occasions, the planner got the output from the Gen AI platform as well as the creative team, and then ended up fine-tuning and figure out what will appeal to the client. At the end of the day, the client couldn't tell the difference between the 3, right? And the point is, it still starts with a human telling Gen AI what to do, getting the machine to work alongside you, and then still fine-tuning it or what makes the most sense for the client. So I also want to then hand over to Shalu to take us through some of these elements. Yeah.
Thanks, Jem. And yeah, that's absolutely right. That is where we've seen our users get the best results when you go back and forth and you use the platform as a tool to help you create magic. That's what we are seeing all around. The magic is still being created by the operators, but this helps us get there much faster, and it gives us more options and just enhances the productivity all through. Before I jump in, I just want to address a question that one of us asked on the Q&A, which is, if everyone starts using Gimmefy, then what is the difference? Then then when everyone start getting the same responses or the same answers and the same output and so on and so forth, whether it's agencies or it's brands directly, that's not that's not how it works. That's not what happens. Like we saw earlier, if we're training Gimmefy to understand our brand, it starts with this level of training where Gimmefy has understood our brand, understood our competitive landscape, and along the way, we will put in a brief for every task that we ask Gimmefy to do. So Gimmefy will respond to our briefs and will take into account the knowledge bank or the knowledge base that we've created, and therefore give us unique and interesting responses, which we will be able to keep working with to get to something that we love. So everything is unique. Everything works in the same way that we work in real life, except that stuff happens in seconds and minutes instead of days and weeks like we're used to. And we do have a more custom version as well, so we can create yourbrand.gimmefy.ai, which pushes the customization even more, where Gimmefy will become an extension of who you are. It will incorporate the learnings, the wisdom that your organization, your marketing team has had over the last many years and months, and will be able to respond in the structure that you would like it to, will be able to respond in the manner, in the tone of voice in which you would like it to, and so on. So therefore, further customization is possible as well. But with that, let's jump in and let's start using it. So, like we had said, that you should imagine that you are the marketing manager for Toastbox, and what would you like to see? So we've got a couple of requests, and we will create. We will be able to use. We will try and use Gimmefy for Toastbox, which is a brand that we're all familiar with. And based on what we're seeing on the chat, we will use it to create a press release for sure. We will also use it to maybe come up with a creative concept, and then turn that creative concept maybe into a video concept or a video script or an Instagram post, etc. as well. But in addition to that, any other last minute requests, any other things that you would like Gimmefy to try, like us to try, then feel free to drop in into the drop in into the chat, and we will try and use it for that use case as well. But there are tons of things that we have trained Gimmefy for, and each one of these tasks is in the back end connected with multiple AI models. There has been an additional layer of training that we've done to teach Gimmefy how to come up with amazing creative concepts, how to come up with Facebook content, how to create press releases, which is a combination of the underlying AI model, an additional layer of marketing training, and specific training for that particular task that we've done. So let's now dive in and start using it. What would you like to see first? I think the first request was for a press release. So let's start by making a press release. So I'm going to go into this section here called public relations, and this opens up all the use cases that we've trained Gimmefy for, which are around PR. And the first use case that you see on top is called Press Release Maker. So I'm going to click on that, and that opens up a little briefing form for making a press release. And this is, these are unique sort of interactive briefing forms that we've created for each task, and you'll find that these are unique for each task that you use it for. And that's because we've worked with experts to create these briefing templates, and each task will ask us a few questions, which will be information that is required by Gimmefy to create a fantastic output. So this kind of takes away the guesswork of what my prompt should be, what the information should I put in, going back and forth. It just makes it really effective and easy from the first time around. So then the next question now is, what is the scenario for, or what is the situation for which we should create a press release? And we've sort of came up with this scenario where we said, okay, it's summertime, school vacations are coming up in Singapore, and should we try and create a campaign, or should we try and launch a new platform or a new product here, where for the first time ever we imagine that Toastbox is launching a Te Kopi subscription plan in Singapore, where for $100 a month, a subscriber can have 2 drinks on a daily basis. Maybe it's a good idea, maybe they'll use it, maybe they'll never use it. But the first question here to ask is, what is the type of press release that we're creating? So in this scenario, let's say that we are doing a product launch and update related press release. And then the next sort of thing that we need to fill out is a bit more about what exactly is this press release about. So we say, hey, we're launching this subscription, and we want this press release to be about this subscription. And then we say, hey, it's going to go live on 1st June 2024 in Singapore. And then what is the main thing you'd highlight? We are looking forward to serving coffee enthusiasts in Singapore. Let's say Jem has switched jobs. He's the CEO for Toastbox. And we don't want to put in the boilerplate. I could have, but I'll just say gem at toastbox.com. And then at the very end, Gimmefy also asks us what level of creativity do we want to use for this task. And in the back end, of course, there's a lot of technical stuff which will give us different levels of creativity. Because we are creating a press release, let me just say, I'll stick to the brief. But in other scenarios, when we maybe come up with campaign ideas, we'll ask Gimmefy to go wild. And I'll just say, subscription press release is the name of my task. And then here is this really interesting section, which allows us to enhance our brief. So in this scenario, for example, if we want Gimmefy to understand a bit more about the Toastbox story, for example, so I can just choose that as an additional URL, and I can go back here and I can put in that URL. Similarly, I could upload a PDF file or any other file to give Gimmefy additional context of this particular task, and Gimmefy will read that file or go to that URL while it is creating or it is helping us do the task. So that's it. My brief is in, and just like real life, garbage in, garbage out. So the more thoughtful our brief is, the more nuanced and informative our brief is, the better the output will be. I've just clicked on Let's Go Gimmefy. So Gimmefy is now trying to keeping in account the entire knowledge base that we created for Toastbox earlier, the additional brief information that I put in, and the additional task related information that I put in. It's trying to put everything together and create the press release for us. While it is doing so, we can go back to the taskbar and we can run multiple things in the background as well. There's been a few requests about
Wait,
about
Shalu,
visuals as well.
Shalu,
Yes, Jem.
do you mind if I just step in here? Just because it's a very timely question that Dennis asked, and I thought I'll address that while where as a toast get that put into the oven, right?
Yes.
So
Go ahead.
Dennis had a really good question. If leading PR and marketing firms like yours use Gimmefy, how are you going to differentiate yourself versus your competitors who are also using Gimmefy, right? How do you enhance or reinforce USPs in this Gen AI environment, right? The way I respectfully to Shalu and various leaders who've made amazing products, I also think that's what Shalu admittedly said literally about 30 seconds ago is garbage in, garbage out, right? I think that's the point is as we saw that press release section, the amount of information that we put in there, the linking out to the right piece of content, those are a big part of it. Distilling the challenge. I think where as communicators, when I say that we can spend more time counseling rather than doing is sitting down with our stakeholders on the business front or the client front and truly understand what truly is your problem, right? Your problem isn't just a comms can help you solve that problem, but what exactly is the problem and how can we distill then do something that's impactful? So that's one. I still think that there is a massive need for communicators to understand business problems, right? And turn that into what communications can potentially solve. So that's one. Second of all, after this process, you would see an initial cut of what the press release would look like. Now, I would also say, as what Shalu said about 3 minutes ago, the more you go back and forth with the machine, with Gimmefy on a platform like this, the more you poke holes, the more you get them to get that version of it to think differently or poke holes that is only going to make it better. So the point is, we would never advocate that whatever is produced by the Gen AI platform goes to a client directly. I mean, we being at Allison, right? It always needs to start with a colleague of mine, a human analysis of the problem, a well thought out problem statement that our strategists would thinking about that and aligning on that brief. I like how Shalu started at the beginning. He said that Sam Altman and David Ogilvy had a child. This would be it. But I think that is, just understanding what the brief would be. And then from there, really scrutinizing the outcome and the output, right? And then from there, until it's ready, we think that it's different from the industry, different from the category, and that's where we take it to clients. So it's a long answer. I'm happy to continue that. But Shalu, hopefully this also allows you to play around and we should have the release ready to go, right?
Thanks, Jem. Yes, we have the release ready, and while we were talking, I also put in a brief for a couple of images as well, just to kind of get that thing going on the in the background while we were working on the release. Let's have a look at what Gimmefy has created as a press release. I've increased the size of the font so that I can read along. I'm at that stage of life. And before Gimmefy gives us any result, it also gives us a recap of the brief so that we as marketers can see where the output is coming from. And if you want to go back and forth and change it, we kind of know what things to tweak and what buttons to press. So in this case, the brief is made up of three parts. The first part is the brand vault and understanding of Toastbox and understanding of the competition, stuff that we created initially in the first part of the demo. And then we put in the exact brief where we said we're launching a new subscription plan and we want to create a press release about that. And we then said, hey, stick to my brief and don't go wild on this one. And that was the brief. And then let's check out output one, output A. And this is the output of the press release. And as you see, this is nicely structured and nicely formatted. It comes out, 1st June 2024. It kind of has the headline, a classy, nostalgic tribute to Nanyang coffee culture, and it kind of starts with like a recap of what Toastbox is, and it's a really nicely structured press release. And like Jem said, it's a great starting point. And taking this, you can do the final tweaks on your own, or you can ask Gimmefy to do further tweaks, and then fill it up. Like it's got the we made Jem the CEO of Toastbox, and it's kind of given him a nice quote as well, and it's a really nicely structured press release which is ready to go. And we did not fill up the boilerplate, but Gimmefy has figured out stuff about Toastbox and filled up the boilerplate on its own. We did not do that. And we have the press release ready to go, which is a nicely structured, well-made press release. We can give it some ratings up or down, and Gimmefy will learn from that, and subsequent work that you do will sort of follow that. But it doesn't stop at option A. It doesn't stop at one option. It also gives us output B. And output B is really interesting. It's as if in real life, you have put in the brief to two different PR teams or two different experienced PR professionals. And this is really cool because in my early agency days, the most frustrating thing used to be when clients used to brief in two agencies at the same time, or you had two competing creative teams working at the same time. And we've kind of tried to replicate that scenario where we're working with two underlying different AI models, and we've done a different layer of training. So what you see as an output here is a response to the same brief, but done in a very different way. And you'll just feel that this team is different, and the output is different. So it's Toastbox unveils groundbreaking take OP subscription plan, and you just see that the style is different. So now we have two options for a fantastic looking press release, and that's where the fun starts. And we can do multiple things with it. If you feel like you need more options, you just click this button. Every time you'll get a set of more options. If you want to tweak the brief, you just go back here and you can tweak the brief. You can even choose, for example, let's say if we like set B better, we can say, hey, I like this one, and based on this one, can you turn this into interview talking points? So I just click this button, and we just say press event is the occasion, and I click on let's go. So it's now going to take that particular press release and turn that into another piece of output with just one click. And similarly, we can go from click to click and turn it into multiple things as well. We can also go back to the same press release and choose output B again and say, hey, can you also give me feedback on this press release? And of course, you can use this function not just for press releases created by Gimmefy, but you can also upload your own work. You can also upload your own team's work and ask Gimmefy to give you feedback on that as well. And Gimmefy will kind of do that, and it becomes a virtuous cycle. And then you can say, hey, incorporate that feedback, or you can just keep going back and forth with that as well. And and that's the press release. You could We also, while we were waiting for that, asked Gimmefy to create this image of a smiling couple having coffee at Toastbox in 1970. And if you notice, I did not say here, do give me the pictures for Toastbox in Singapore. And therefore, it's given us images that may be relevant for anywhere in the world. But then I corrected myself, and then I said, hey, give me pictures of a smiling couple having coffee in a Toastbox in 1970 in Singapore. And now it's given me pictures that look like they are from Singapore. And all I did was change, add Singapore as an option, and it changed everything. We also clicked a button and said, "Hey, can you turn this press release into interview talking points?" And again, it gives me output by two different teams. Output team A has given me three options for what the talking points can be, and what could be the talking points for the interview. It's like a really nice, detailed, structured interview talking points sheet, and this is output A. Result one, output A, result two. So we have three results from team A, three results from team B. You can continue to go back and forth. You can continue to refine the output and say, hey, I like number three. Can you make it more humorous? Can you add a dash of emotion to it? Can you expand on this part? Can you remove that part? And it'll go on and it'll do that as well. Similarly, we have three outputs by team B, and again, you can keep going back and forth. You can keep generating more options, and very quickly we will have an option that we love, and then we can start using it. That's an example of using Gimmefy to create a press release. Now let's try and do something a bit more complicated, something that is usually a bit tougher, which is using Gimmefy for creativity related use cases. And some folks had asked earlier. Okay, so there's a question: what are the underlying GPT models that Gimmefy is using? Great question from Timothy, I think. At Gimmefy, our aim is to ensure or help make sure that marketers get the best of AI married with the best of human wisdom and learning. And therefore, what we've done is we've integrated with almost every LLM out there. We've integrated. We know that copy AI is great at something; it sucks at other things. We know that Anthropic is great at something. We know that Llama is great at something. We know Stability is good for something. We know, and so on and so forth. So we've built what we call Gimmefy Intelligence, Gimmefy Intelligence Hub, which marries the right use case with the right underlying LLM, applies the right layer of training automatically, and then you get the output, which is quite stunning. So in a sense, it's the best of all underlying AI technologies. Many times for complicated tasks, like, for example, the press release that we just made or the creative concepts that we are making just now, we also break down the task into a variety of, into a bunch of smaller tasks so that we are able to sort of, just like in real life, if you are coming up with creative concept, you would perhaps start with a bit of brainstorm and then do a bit of, start with research, brainstorm, top 3, top 10 ideas, shortlist the ideas, flesh out those ideas, and so on. Similarly, we've built a system where we are able to do that using AI and break it up into different pieces, work with different LLMs, apply a layer of training, and the output is quite stunning. And here, what I'm doing right now on the screen is I'm showcasing a different use case, which is the creativity related use case, where we're saying, look, summertime is coming up. We want more footfalls during the summer vacation in Singapore in the Toastbox outlets, and we want to say, hey, focus on families, especially focus on the afternoon time, as we have a lot of underutilized capacity at that time. And to make it even more complicated, I'm saying, hey, we're introducing a limited time samosa bun to be available only for a limited time period. And I want to ask Gimmefy to come up with creative concepts for that. And let's see what it can do for us, and what the creativity related use cases, how they work. And just like earlier, we are able to enhance this brief as well by adding more URLs, by adding additional files that we can upload as a part of the brief. And in this case, what I'll do is I will go to their menu and I will put in their signature stuff here, so that Gimmefy can pick from there and enhance the output or use that as context as well. And because this one we're just doing ideas, I'm going to dial it up and click on go. And again here, we could have made it more nuanced. We could have spent some more time in thinking it through a bit more, and the output would be quite stunning. And while Gimmefy is working on that, all the work that we do will always be available in your history. So if you want to go back to it, if you want to share it with colleagues, if you want to rework it, if you want to rerun it, you can do that at any point of time. And Gimmefy will be able to save it forever. And the history is different for each project, so you'll be able to sort of work with different brands and different clients separately. While Gimmefy is coming up with the creative concepts, this is how you will get a feedback on press release. So it'll kind of start by saying, hey, this part is good. Follows the classic kind of sandwich model. Hey, this is good, but you know what? You could do this stuff better. And it gives really, really good suggestions for how you could make your press release even better. And if you feel like these suggestions are good, you can just click on another button here and say, hey, I like this one, and can you incorporate that and make the press release again? And then can I keep running that virtuous cycle? So in a few seconds, you'll be able to get to a press release that you really love, and stuff that would normally, and very nicely structured, on brand, consistent, keeping in account all your competitive landscape and so on. So very, very quickly, you'll be able to sort of get to that stage as well.
Hey, Shalu, I'm just going to pause here. Before you go into the campaign, I'm mindful of time. So we got just a couple more minutes. I will say for those, we're going to try our very best to answer your questions. And before I do that, I'm just going to flash one slide really quickly. Just in case this runs off and you need to hop off and all that, both our email addresses are there. We can obviously address questions. Some of you have also asked for trials. So if you can, a combination of asking us questions or asking us for licenses, etc., Shalu can tackle that. But this is probably two email addresses that you want to take on. If not, you can also drop the folks at PRCA those questions, right? I just want to maybe tackle one more question before Shalu, you take over, but you can take over the screen control right now. I think, let me look through the list. Rahul asks, how do you see misinformation and disinformation affecting PR, comms, brands, reputation, etc. moving forward? Do you think AI has a part to play as a solution? I think there are various ways to tackle this, right? I mean, AI has a place to play in identifying, obviously today, everything from, look, and I want to be specific, right? Today, that everything that we see on Netflix trying to identify that you're logging in through a VPN to access their platform is AI driven. They understand better the IP addresses, the user behavior, trying to understand you log in the US at this time of the day, 5 minutes later, you log in from Singapore. Obviously, you're using a VPN. So AI has a role to play in addressing some of the biggest problems. And then in the world of communications, yes, I mean, as we start understanding, what are the various use cases of misinformation or disinformation, I think that there is the ability for us to train AI to better identify and better give us the signals at the quickest possible time before it gets into a less than ideal state. So that's point number one. I think AI has a part to play as a solution in identification, right? Second of all is does AI has to play as a solution as well. I think where we are also seeing like the solution for identifying misinformation needs to start with, I guess, identification, course correcting, understanding who we should go after. And the same, that's what we saw in monitoring platforms like Meltwater, etc. So there's a little bit about that. Shalu, I'm gonna try to hand this back to you. Yep.
Thanks, Jem. I know we're kind of at the hour mark. I'm going to walk through some of the output of the creative task that we ran, and then show how we can extend it to doing multiple, or extend the ideas to actually creating content for Insta, for a blog post, and so on. And then there's a few questions that we have that we can kind of take on as well. But just to kind of look at the output, this is the output for the creative concept that we asked Gimmefy to generate. Again, we have outputs from Team A and Team B. team A has given us three outputs, and the output comes out in this really nice structure, which starts with the approach, which is a bit of a recap of the of what are we trying to achieve here. Gives us a bit of an insight based on a piece of research that is relevant for us. So in this case, a research by NUS. Slice of life scenario to get us to, a bit of a teaser to get us to imagine where it'll come to life, and then the idea itself, which in this case is family buns of fun. So it kind of leads up to the idea, fleshes out the idea, and then from there it goes on to give us an implementation plan for the idea. So what should the strategy be? What can we do before the campaign, after the campaign, during the campaign, offline, online, in store? So really detailed implementation and execution plan as well. And then it recaps at the end by giving us a summary of why this campaign is likely to work, which is a bit of a cold take. And then it doesn't stop there. So it kind of gives us three creative options. This one, it's an afternoon escape at Toastbox. That's idea number two. And then we'd also given it a suggestion or a requirement that we want to fill up the afternoon slots. So it's kind of taken that into account as well. So it was a fairly complicated brief for Gimmefy to handle. And just like earlier, we get outputs from team, not just team A, but team B as well. So team A has given us three outputs, which we can refine further by choosing whichever output we want to further refine, and then asking Gimmefy to make changes to that. Or we can take a look at output by team B, and this output will come out in a slightly different style, in a different way. So samosa bun summer siesta is idea one, and then there's idea two and idea three. And we could, of course, go back and forth till the time we love something. And once we love something, then we can go on and take that idea and turn it into a full portfolio of content for different platforms. So let's say that I like output A, idea number one. Somebody had asked a question earlier, which are the languages that we can work on? So we have about 40 plus languages. Including Mandarin, including just for fun, we've also created we've also trained Gimmefy to create outputs in Singlish. So let me just use that for fun. I just click on Let's Go Gimmefy, and it's going to turn this particular idea into Singlish for us. And while it is doing that, I can go back to output A by output one by team A and say, like we had promised earlier, turn that into a video concept. And let's pick YouTube and click on go. So now what Gimmefy is doing is we picked one out of the six concepts, and Gimmefy is now taking that particular concept and turning that into a video concept. And once it is ready, we will be able to further process that. And eventually, once, for example, the Sora API is live, we'll be able to turn that into real videos as well. Right now, we can take it up to a stage where we can turn it into video concepts, and then you click another button, you'll get video scripts. You click another button, you can even get like a storyboard of sorts. But actual videos may be possible down the road as well as the underlying technology improves. We can also choose that and say, hey, can you turn that into an Instagram concept as well? So the core idea is that we've built it so that we can quickly go back and forth, find a concept that we love. And once we love something, we can then go forward with it and turn that into actual pieces of content as well. And in this case, we now have six sort of concepts for Instagram, which come out in a nice structure, all based on the same core idea that we liked. But at the same time, we can pick that and say, can you now turn that into an actual Instagram post too? And I can choose the length and I can click on go. So broadly, we've seen, like two paths to marketers using a platform like this, where one option is you can start by going back and forth on the ideas. And once you love an idea, you can then extend it to multiple pieces of content like I've just done on the screen. The other is if you know exactly what you're looking for, you don't need to then start with the idea. You can just go straight and say, make me a press release, make me an Instagram post, make me search related content, and so on and so forth. And go ahead and create that as well. So the Instagram output comes out, just ready for Instagram. It also gives us pre-recommended images to go along with it as well. And we are free to either use that image, or if we want to just put in a brief for a special image that we wanted to earlier, like we did earlier, we can do that as well. There's a bunch of visual related use cases as well. You can add your logos on top. You can edit visuals in a variety of ways. You can choose different parts of the image, do in painting, out painting. So many of all the kind of cool stuff that you've seen Gen AI be able to do, we'll be able to do all of those things as well. I think that gives you like a quick
Yep.
overview and of what is possible using a right combination of the right AI model and the right layer of human training. And with that, we can now jump off and
Yep.
and take a
Maybe
few
I'll just answer
questions.
a
There
couple
are a
more
bunch of
questions
questions.
before we go, Shalu.
Go ahead.
Jackson, and we addressed Timothy's question as well. Everyone's been asking Shalu around what AI platform is Gimmefy built on. I think we can definitely share that as Shalu mentioned. That's Shalu, you want to tackle that really quickly? Just again, I know you mentioned it in passing.
Sure. Like our goal, our mission is to build Gimmefy such that it is the perfect marriage between the best of AI and the best of human wisdom. So when I say best of AI, we've integrated with everything out there, from OpenAI to Llama to Anthropic to DALI to Stability, and built our own in-house AI tech as well. And essentially, you get the best of everything when you use Gimmify. The right tasks are matched to the right LLMs. The tasks are broken up into multiple pieces, goes to different AI models, comes back, applies a layer of training, and you get the best possible output. So the goal is to build it into the best of all of underlying AI platforms.
And then, Arun had a question. What are copyright rules around AI generated visuals? I think that is I would say it's still a developing conversation and still a developing dialogue that we're seeing. Advertising standards. That's what we saw many years ago. Influencer doing branded videos. Do you need to put ADV at the start of your status and all that? That's one. But what I really think this is going to be great is Arun, I have a feeling I know you, and we used to work in the same company as with Shalu, in the same company where it took so long to get a creative to do a mock-up of a campaign. And I think what Gen AI does, it allows you to create a mock-up in a really, really quick before you go into proper photo shoots, product shoots, etc. So think of it as, sometimes Gen AI can help in developing that key visual first, right? And say, as opposed to this, getting a sketch artist to draw out, an illustrator draw out, you could get what a potential visual will look like before you get your senior stakeholders or your clients to sign off on it, before you send the creative team or the production team out to shoot images. So that's another way you can think about that use case as well. So, some of the images there, I find that today business leaders need to see what the campaign looks like, need to see how the message is and the words are and the copy are. And I think this is really a good first step to getting them to understand how it might potentially look like as well. So that's my take on standards and ethics around images, right?
I think just to quickly add to that, all of the stuff that you're seeing on your screen right now is still relatively early days of the ability of us, our ability to use the AI. It's going to become is like right now we can still perhaps figure out, okay, this one looks like it's AI generated. Another few weeks, another few months, we won't be able to. So therefore, this question becomes even more relevant. And the answer to that is that I think so far what we've seen is that stuff works just like real life. Like in real life, you won't tell your art director, hey, make me a picture of Donald Trump having Tasty in Toastbox. You won't do that because it's against, you don't have the rights to do that. So similarly, you won't ask Gimmify to do that. But from a commercial point of view, the law is very clear. Anything that you create using Gimmify, either content or ideas or visuals, you have the complete commercial rights to use it. As far as copyright goes, like Jem said, it's still a bit murky. Different courts are treating it in different ways. But as long as we use the real life common sense, we should be absolutely fine.
Well, thank you again. I would like to say thank you so much for your time. I know we overran by 11 minutes, and for many of you, I guess we're standing between you and dinner or you and time pick up the kids, etc. So I thank you so much. Look, we drop our email addresses on the chat. Just let us know you have more questions. I think that we ran a poll earlier on as well. I think that what we're seeing right now as the results are coming in, it sounds that a lot more people are definitely more optimistic, but at the same point, there's still the same level of cautiousness that we're seeing, right, on the role of Gen AI. And I think that, this is a developing situation. I thought that, it would have to talk about Gen AI without showing and demoing what it can do would be a missed opportunity. So I thank Shalu again. Like I mentioned, just to be able to see and test drive this car, is important. And I think that for various organizations, I strongly advocate that it always starts with human analysis, the wisdom and experience of a human and a practitioner working alongside a piece of technology, taking it out, questioning, poking holes, and then from there, discussing within your teams and then getting it in front of a stakeholder. I think that's still important. So garbage in, garbage out. Hopefully, the wisdom and experience of the various comms people on this call will help. It's crucial in making sure that the work doesn't get completely taken over by, well, I say a machine. So thank you again so much for your time. Again, if you have any questions, please reach out. For many of you friends out there that we haven't chance to see in a long time, a good hello to all of you. But again, let us know if you have any questions. We'll take emails after this webinar. Shalu, anything else to say before we end?
No, just that what we are seeing in real life is that the whole kind of discussion, thoughts, ideas around, hey, it's going to replace all the marketing jobs and creation and all of that. We're not seeing any of that. What we're seeing is people being able to spend time on stuff that actually moves the needle and do more meaningful stuff and get the basic bread. They just have more options to choose from, make better decisions, go to market faster. The amount of work never ends. There's always more to do. So that's what we're seeing. Thanks, guys. Great talking to you. Do reach out for any specific questions, or if you guys want to see how you can help your organization, look forward to doing that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Have a nice day. Bye.